What's going on, traders? In this video, we're going to be looking at supply and demand confirmation entries for trading Forex or stocks or whatever you want. I noticed a lot of supply and demand traders kind of make mistakes when looking for confirmation entries. There's a lot you need to know. So in this video, I will be explaining exactly what to look for to increase your odds when looking for confirmation trades. So stay tuned. Alright guys, thanks for tuning into the video. First thing is first, if you trade supply and demand, if not, there's a good thing to know. There's 3 time frames. In this example, I'll be using daily, 4 hour, 1 hour as my example. So my daily would be the highest time frame, my 4 hour would be my intermediate, and my 1 hour would be my smallest time frame, which would also be your entry time frame. But you can also enter on the 4 hours, so that's very important to know. So for this example, I will be using that time frame sequence. You can just switch this around. If let's just say you want to do 4 hour, 1 hour, it doesn't matter. Like, so there's another example is, you could have 4 hour, 1 hour, 15 minute. It just doesn't matter. Your 4 hour would just become the higher time frame, your 1 hour would be intermediate, and the 15 minute would be your entry. So I'm just using the daily, 4 hour, 1 hour in this example to keep it really simple. So right now we're looking at a daily chart. And let's just say you see this zone right here, and you want to look for confirmation in this daily demand zone. Well, the first thing that you need to know is you need to assess the trend. And as you can see, we are on an uptrend. The trend line starts from back here, but we are on an uptrend. We have supply zones being removed. As you can see, we have supply zone removed, supply zone removed, supply zone removed right here as well. So it's safe to say that we are on a daily uptrend, and the daily in this situation, like I said, is our highest time frame. So that's the first thing you need to know before looking for confirmation. I notice a lot of people don't even consider that when looking for confirmation. That's probably the most important factor. So since your highest time frame is on an uptrend, you can, when price comes down to this area of daily demand, which you want to look for confirmation in, it's okay to look for, here I'm going to write down our time frames again. Daily is your highest, 4 hours intermediate, 1 hour is your entry time frame. Since your daily is on an uptrend, it's okay to look for just 1 hour confirmation, because obviously you'll get the 1 hour confirmation sooner than the 4 hour. And that is only because your daily is on an uptrend. If your daily is on a downtrend, I will explain later in this video what to do. But since the daily is on an uptrend, it's totally okay to look for a 1 hour confirmation in that daily demand. And with that being said, we'll hop down to a smaller time frame now. All right, so now that we have identified that the daily is on an uptrend, and we've identified this nice daily demand zone that we want to look for confirmation in, it's now time to go down to the 1 hour, which this is a 1 hour chart. These are all 1 hour candles. And first things first, I just want to say, since the daily trend is up, you are technically allowed to take set and forgets in this area. So technically that set and forget right here would be totally valid. It is a little more risky, but the reward is much higher. But since this is a confirmation video, we're just going to be talking about confirmation. So I just wanted to point that out, that technically this set and forget is valid. So now I'm going to explain what to look for. So let's just pretend that all this stuff over here didn't happen right here, just because I can't draw it over here. So I'm just basically going to start from here, and we're going to go down right here. Pretend this is price action trending down, 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 right? And then we have supply zone here, supply zone here, right? So what you're going to want to look for is, this is a 1 hour time frame. We have 1 hour supply here, 1 hour supply here. The best, and let's just say we also have a downward trend line like that. Excuse my drawing, I know it's not the best at all. So what we're going to be looking for is basically the removal of supply zones. We have one here. I don't know why my drawing's not going. So we have one here, and then one up here as well. What we want to see is at least 2 supply zones being removed. So, or a supply zone and this downward trend line. So if something like this happens, like this, and we get a candle close above here, and then we have, new demand zone being formed right here that broke this trend line and that supply zone, that's a great zone in my opinion. So then we would basically place our order here, the stop loss under here, and you wait for that pullback like that. So that's just one example where there's one supply removed, but this downward trend line has been removed as well. That's one example. I'm going to show you guys another example as well. So same idea. Let me just get my tool. So same idea. We have this downtrend here. We're trending down like this. Let's just say that there's no trend line here, just to make it simple. We have the supply zone. We have a supply zone here. Let's just say there's no trend line, because sometimes there isn't always a trend line. So we have two supply zones here. If price comes up and just removes the one supply zone, opposing zone on the 1 hour, it's not that great, and because like I said, there's no downward trend line. So in this situation, what you would want is for both of these zones to be removed, and then it would be more than likely that you would have, you know, a zone right here that was responsible for moving this one. You'd probably have another one under here as well, but what I find is that a lot of the times price does not make it all the way back to this bottom zone, and you'll see something like this happen. So that's another very strong indication that buyers are stepping up, and this is the one. So basically there's one example where you want the trend line removed and one zone removed, or if there's no trend line, then you just want two zones removed, and then you want to find the demand zone in that situation that was responsible for removing the zones, and that would be your confirmation. And if you don't know how to find the zones and all that stuff, I track all the zones. Check out this video. I'm going to put it up in the you'll see it right here, that of tracking all the supply and demand zones. It's on my channel as well, and it'll help you out with tracking these demand zones. With that being said, we're going to hop into the other example when your highest time frame is not on an uptrend. All right, so this is an example where I see a lot of people making mistakes. As you can see, price, this is my highest time frame, so my daily. As you can see, we have the trend line up, so price is in an uptrend like that, with demand zones obviously being respected, supply zones being removed, and then we have right here, we have our daily supply. But in this example, unlike the last one, you want to take a confirmation trade in this area, but your higher time frame is counter trend. As you can see, I wrote it right here, your daily supply, which you're contacting, but there's a daily uptrend, so this equals counter trend. So for this example, to go and remember the three time frames, you have the daily, the 4, and the 1. This is in the last example, we were going from a daily to the 1 hour because the daily was on an uptrend. But in this example, since your daily is on an uptrend and you want to take a short in this area, which I don't really recommend doing, I don't do this at all anymore, but it still could be valid. I just, you know, I'm not a fan of it. You would then have to go to your 4 hour, your intermediate time frame for confirmation. And the mistake that I see is most people are just using their 1 hour because that's what they've been taught. I don't know who taught them that. I have no idea. So for this example, you can look for 1 hour. You can just go to your entry time frame, but it's just extremely risky and extremely aggressive. It's not really wrong. In my opinion, it is kind of wrong, but some people will say it's not wrong. But it's definitely safer to just go down to a 4 hour time frame since it's on an uptrend. And if all this is making sense, or if you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. I will respond to every single comment. Just let me know, and I will happily help you out. So with that being said, we've identified the daily trend is up, zones are being respected, and then we've contacted this daily supply. So now let's dive into these smaller time frames. All right, so here we are on the 4 hour time frame, and as you can see, I wrote right here, daily supply, which is this big area here, daily uptrend equals counter trend. We must use intermediate time frame, which in this example would be the 4 hour, in the daily 4 hour and 1 hour sequence. If this was a 4 hour zone like this, and your intermediate was a 1 hour, and then 15-minute was your entry, you would have to go to the 1 hour time frame. It doesn't matter if this is weekly, daily, 4 hour, you would go to your daily time frame in this example. It does not matter what the sequence is. It just matters that, you know, you are using the proper time frames when taking these confirmation setups. So for this example, what you'd look for, it's basically the exact same. I'm just showing you guys. You have demand here. In this example, the demand's pretty far away from the zone. But what you could do is you could wait for this momentum shift to happen like this. And in this example, it would actually be pretty decent, because what you could see is price would come down here. And, you know, if price comes up here, then you're good. You never even took the trade, right? And that's the risk. And that's the risk of taking set and forgets, right? And by the way, set and forgets are not valid in this type of example where your trend is when your highest time frame is trending. So for this example, since this trend line lines up pretty nice with this demand, it'd be almost a great example where price could break this like that. It would break this demand, and this trend line would then be broken too. It would then create this supply zone right here. I don't know if you can see that, it's green. Maybe I should have used a different color. And then basically what you do is you'd wait for that pullback. Your stop would be above this zone. Your entry would be here. And then it would come down right here. And then you'd be well into profit. And this would be your intermediate time frame confirmation. And obviously, for all this to play out, it would take longer than the 1 hour. But this is the safest bet, the highest odds in my opinion. And the mistake I see is people are on the 1 hour trying to get confirmation, and they just get stopped out. And then price eventually goes their way. So I hope that made sense. So kind of to recap, you have two types of confirmation. You have opposing zones. Let me get my tool here. You would have two zones, and then you'd want to see them both removed for confirmation, or you have your downtrend, or your trend line right here like this, and let's just say there's one opposing zone right there, and then you'd want to see that broken where you have the removal of this trend line and the removal of that opposing zone, and then you buy your pullback like that. Those are the two examples, and I mean that's pretty much all I have to say. The biggest takeaway from this video I want it to be is to make sure that you're using the proper time frames when looking for confirmation. That is the biggest factor. And you know, if you want to learn how to track supply and demand zones, subscribe to my channel. Check out the Patreon too. I track zones and trends and trend lines for people. It's pretty cheap. It's only $5 Canadian on a month to be a Patreon member, where you get my charts. I have a ton of videos on my channel as well that could help you out if you're not sure how to track all the zones and make sure you're finding the proper zones. And yes, and I hope this video helps. Like I said before, let me know in the comments down below if you have any questions at all. I will respond to every single question that I get. And join the Discord group. It's free. A bunch of supply and demand traders in there, and I hope this video helps. If it did, leave a thumbs up. Share it with a friend that wants to learn about confirmation trade, and I hope you all have a good day. Cheers.